A lot of us read, but have you ever wondered why a very small proportion of these people can actually remember all that they study? They are able to do extremely well in their exams, and if you have noticed, they have spent a very few hours reading. And if you have wondered why, it is just because they have gone out of their conventional ways of studies and they are always looking for newer and better and innovative ways to study, which ultimately helps them to get better grades and they come out of their exams with flying colors. Hi everybody, I'm Kaveri. I'm a third year medical student in BGS Global Institute of Medical Sciences, Bangalore, India. Moving from conventional ways of studies into newer and innovative ways of learning has helped me tremendously. And in this video, I'll be talking about different study techniques that will help you reach your goal easily and smartly. I'll be sharing with you 10 important techniques that I think are very important. Do watch the video till the end and select some ways which will suit you best. I'm not telling that you should follow all the 10 ways. Just go through the video till the end and select some ways that will best suit you and help you come out of your exams with flying colors and help you learn smartly, wisely with just little time input. The first way or the technique is as simple as it sounds. It is nothing but planning. If you look into the history or if you look at the present examples of any legendary notable figures, you will see that they would have never started their day without planning. Such is the importance of planning. So many researchers say that if you plan your work or your day beforehand, it will increase the success rates of you completing the work, and also it decreases your amount of stress because it will already give you a roadmap as to which tasks you will be doing at a particular moment, and this will prevent you from stressing regarding what you have to do by overthinking at that particular moment. This roadmap will easily guide you to complete most of your things and it will ultimately lead to success. So after watching this video, you might follow any of the study techniques, but make sure planning is the first among those because it will eventually increase your rate of success and help you accomplish larger amount of tasks in a very small given frame of time or a particular day for that matter. The next important technique is using Pomodoro technique. So what is Pomodoro? Instead of studying for long hours of time and tiring yourself, you study for small amount of time and take so many breaks in between. And the breaks are very short. Traditionally, these sessions can be anywhere like 25 minutes with a 5-minute break, 25-5, 25-5. And you can also increase the time frame to 50-10, 50-10. The most important thing that is difficult in Pomodoro technique is you training your brain from the first day to sit and do what you wanted to do. It can be tiring and hard for so many people, but if you try to train your brain regularly and try to do it every day, it is ultimately gonna show you a lot of results and you will see that you will be productive 2x or 3x more than how you used to be regularly. Here what happens is when you fix your mind like 25 minutes I'm going to do a particular work, your brain retrains and tries to focus on that task completely. And when you take a break, it just frees your mind so that when you come to your next 25-minute session of Pomodoro, your mind will be very free and it can easily grasp and understand and give full concentration to what you have planned for that minute. And you can always increase the sessions from 25 to 50 or 1.5 hours according to how long you can concentrate and sit, because the amount of time that a person can concentrate or devote to a particular work differs from person to person. So you can set the Pomodoro timings according to how you can use it and benefit from it. The next method is the Feynman's method. It was devised by Feynman, who is a famous American physicist when he was a student in Princeton University. He says that when you study something and if you're able to express whatever you have studied in concise thoughts and simple language to a layman or to a child who has zero knowledge about the topic, it will make your understanding even more better and you become very concrete in the concepts. It can be like this. You read a concept, you understand it, and then you explain it to yourself or a friend. Basically, you have to explain it to a child, but finding a child who is very curious is not possible all the time. So you can explain it to a friend who has not studied that topic. So he will have lesser knowledge or zero knowledge regarding that topic. When you explain to that friend, he will obviously have so many doubts. He will always be there finding some loopholes in your knowledge base. So if you know the answer, it is better, or if you don't know, it is completely okay. You can go back, read about it, come and explain again. This way your information and your concepts will become concrete. Let me take a simple example. If you have to explain why a person should not eat sweets or chocolates to a layman, you cannot use complex terms and explain. If you use a lot of complex terms, the person will think that you're mad and won't listen to you. Instead, if you explain to him in simpler terms, like if you eat a chocolate, it will increase the blood sugar level. The sugar is used for regular activities like reading, walking, jumping, talking, etc. And after you finish all these activities, if there is little more sugar that is left in your body, there is a substance called insulin that will help the cells to take up the sugar and store it for later use. But if the person is diabetic, what happens is the insulin is not produced, or it is not produced in enough amounts. So the sugar is not taken into the cell, the sugar in the blood is high, and so it leads to so many other complications. This way the person will understand whatever you are telling and he will be able to follow your instructions. That is why it is always wise for you to explain whatever you have studied in concise thoughts and simple language, because it will make your concept stronger and it will also help so many others to understand whatever you are talking about. Now I'll talk about active recall. This is a method of zero notes. Here you study a topic, and after you have finished studying a topic, you make n number of questions from that topic. Let's take an example. If you are studying chapter cell, after you finish studying the chapter, you make a lot of questions. The questions can be as simple as what is a cell, and it can go to as complex as what are the genetic or the molecular alterations taking place in a cell of a particular organ in a particular disease or a condition. You can make a lot of questions. Now, after you have finished studying that, you will never open the textbook again. Whenever you have to revise, you just take that sheet of questions that you have prepared or a folder of questions that you have prepared and try to answer all those questions. You see what is a cell and try to think about what you know in that regard. When you do it 2 to 3 times, you will ultimately perfect the concepts and the chapter. The theory behind this is, so many research tell that your brain becomes more and more strong in concepts and building neuronal connections when you retrieve information from the brain rather than you feeding it with information. So many other techniques like revising will feed information to the brain again and again. I'm not telling that it is of no use at all. It is of use. But active recall, because it is trying to get information out of your brain, it is retrieving information, will increase the network in the brain and increase your ability to remember better. It has a slight upper hand compared to spaced repetition in this regard. The next way is the spaced repetition. After you have studied something, it will be there in your short-term memory. And when a part of information is in the short-term memory, it undergoes a process called as exponential forgetting. You don't forget in a straight line, you exponentially forget whatever you have studied. And when you revise, after a certain amount of time, you're refilling the curve. See, there is a forgetting curve. You exponentially forget and it is represented by a forgetting curve. And after you have studied and after some days when you try to revise, you're breaking or interrupting the forgetting curve and you're refilling it to 100%. And the curve doesn't stop. It again undergoes exponential forgetting, but it is in a slightly higher level. you again interrupt it, it goes to a higher level. And as you do it n number of times, not n number, like 4 to 5 times, your forgetting curve ultimately becomes a straight line. That is when all your short-term memory inputs are converted to long-term memory inputs by development of neuronal networks, which will make you remember the concept lifelong, and you will never ever forget it after it is there in your long-term memory. Now I'll talk about Anki card method. Anki card method is a system of flashcards. Here you install the Anki app, and it can be installed in any devices. After you have the app, you make a lot of question and answers, basically a basic flashcard. The flashcard will have question on one side and answer on the other side. This method is like an active recall or a repetitive revision combined together, but on a computer or a device level. Okay, so when you have to revise, you open your flashcard. It shows you the question. If you are able to remember the answer, you click 10 minutes. So 10 minutes is the time for which you will be taking to recall the answer. After that, after 10 minutes, it will show you the answer. You can cross check. If you don't know the answer, you can hit 1 minute. It will show you the answer then and there, and you can learn it. Or you can hit 4 days. That is a third option. Here you go back, read about it, learn, and come back after 4 days. It will show you the answer then, and then that's how you learn and use Anki flashcards. After you have aced the technique of using basic Anki flashcards, you can use so many other flashcards like closed flashcards, reverse flashcards, timer method, or the image occlusion flashcards, etc. And one benefit that the flashcard users get is that they can use the flashcards prepared by so many other people instead of them actively spending their time in making flashcards most of the times. But one drawback is always that you need to put in some effort in trying to make flashcards and getting yourself to sit and open those flashcards and read. If you're someone who is lazy to do all these, you can obviously use repetitive revision and active recall, which are even more easier and gives you the same benefits. If you're someone who is creatively well versed and want to do something very different for studying, you can always use Anki flashcard and help yourself increase your learning and get better grades in your exams. Now I'll talk about Hebbian theory. This was introduced by Donald Hebb in his book, The Organizational Behavioral Theories. It says that an increased synaptic efficacy arises when a presynaptic neuron repetitively and continuously, persistently stimulates the postsynaptic neurons. If I have to talk about this in simpler terms, like a Feynman's theory, it says that when you learn, there is increased stimulation of the neurons. It gets activated, and in the process it co-stimulates the surrounding neurons. So many neurons in the vicinity gets activated simultaneously, and this results in the development of neuronal connections. And when you learn again, or when you repeat a task again, these neuronal connections which are there in between the nearby neurons become stronger and stronger. The stronger the neuronal connection gets, the stronger is your brain in that pertaining activity. And as you go by, all these learning becomes behavior, and this behavior becomes habit when the neuronal networks become stronger and stronger. Let's take an example. When a person is learning to drive, he is very conscious in each and everything. To start the car, to leave the clutch when the car has to move, he is very conscious as to leave the clutch slowly so that it doesn't jerk and stop. When changing the gear, he is very conscious. But as days goes by and as he drives again and again, he does so many things subconsciously. No one is going to think about how he has to start the car or how he has to change the gear or how he has to leave the clutch, right? It all comes subconsciously. It is because the neuronal wiring or the neuronal network has developed to a greater degree, and you can do things subconsciously and without thinking about it. The same happens when you learn. As days goes by and as you revise and make your concept stronger, the neuronal networks are strong and subconsciously you are able to answer it. Just imagine your neuronal network has become so strong, even in your sleep, if your friend comes and asks you what is the answer for that, you will answer it and go back to sleep. Such is the importance of Hebbian theory in learning. The next important technique is building memory palaces. Memory palaces were devised from ancient Greek and it is a system of loci. Now, what is a memory palace? Here you associate spatial and visual memory to help you in the process of learning. It has 5 techniques. First of all, you build a memory palace. So what is a memory palace? You can take the example of your dining area or a living room or a bedroom or a scenery outside or any area. You have to just try and remember that area. Let's take the example of a living room. You need to just set it as your memory palace outline. The second thing is setting the permanent items in your memory palace. So the permanent items are chairs, carpet, or the teapot, the vase, or the toys, or so many showpieces which are there in your living room. Once you know what are the permanent things in your living room, you have to number those. So number can be like this: sofa number 1, carpet number 2, the vase number 3, and the screen number 4. You have to assign a number to each item. You have to repeat, think, see these again and again so that you will have the picture in your brain. And you can requiz yourself as to what was 3, what was 4. And you have to just make the memory palace a permanent thing and you should be able to recall it anytime. Now, if you have to remember something, that is step number 4. Here you add things to your permanent items. Just imagine we have to remember the deck of cards. And as I said, memory palace is very important in all the creative kids. And you know, there are things like memory competition, right? And memory palace is one of the important technique that they use in memory competitions. To remember the value of pi, to remember a deck of cards, or to remember all the things that are there in the room, people usually use memory palace. Now, coming to our example. If you take a deck of cards, just imagine king is the first card and you have to remember. So you will place the king on the sofa. So there is the image in your brain, that is the visual spatial imagination. King on the sofa, you will not forget. 2, just think it is a joker. So joker is dancing on your carpet, that is 2. And the queen. Now let's see, take queen is 3. So the queen is standing near the screen. She is undoing the screen. So like this, you just associate each thing with a particular object so that you don't forget it. And if your memory palace is very strong, you can use it to so many other things to remember. Or you can always build extra memory palaces for different things so that you don't confuse in the initial times. Now, memory palace is not everyone's cup of tea. It takes quite some time for you to ace it. But after you have mastered the art of using memory palace, it is very fast and easy and you can easily use it to remember anything. If I have to take some of the very simple examples, see, there are so many times you get confused between right hand and left hand used for something, not hand. See, something like, okay, so the right nerve goes to this organ, or the right artery does this, or the right side is this. So many things like that, right? So many people tend to get confused with the right and left. So if imagine you have to remember something like the left artery supplies this organ. You don't have to remember 2. If you have to remember just one so that you don't remain confused, you just imagine the monkey scratching his head with left hand. So that picture will make sure that you don't forget the information. Or if you want to remember that there is a bottle in the table, you just imagine something like the bottle just got opened and it is pouring water onto someone's head so that you don't forget it. The crazier your memory palaces are, the sillier your memory palaces are, the better chances that you remember and recall things very effectively and you don't forget it at all. The last 2 techniques, the 9th and 10th one, are very, very easy and I use this all the time. If you ask any medical student, they will be using these 2 techniques always because they'll have a lot of things to remember and these techniques will definitely help them. They are acronyms and acrostics. Firstly, I'll talk about acronyms. Here you take a long series and use all the first letters and make a small word so that the small word will guide you in remembering the entire sentence. It is as simple as VIBGYOR. So VIBGYOR is the color of the rainbow, right? From the lowest wavelength to highest wavelength. So once you know VIBGYOR, you can expand and remember all the colors. And if you take a medical example, it is like, see, remembering content of mediastinum is very hard. And if you have to take specifically something like remembering content of posterior mediastinum, you can use a lot of acronyms that will help you. And the acronym that I use is DATES-VP. So D for descending thoracic aorta, and A for azygous system of veins, T for thoracic duct, and E for esophagus, S for splanchnic nerve and sympathetic vessels, and V for vagus nerve, and P for posterior intercostal veins, vessels and nerves. So this way you can remember better. Here also, the funnier the acronyms, the easier for you to remember better. Coming to 10th one, it is acrostics. So what is acrostics? Here, instead of you making a small word out of the first letters, you make a whole new sentence. Now I'll give you an example. I think this is the example that every medical student uses to remember the carpal bones in the hand. You use "she looks too pretty, try to catch her." If you just know that she starts from here, you know scaphoid, lunate, and triquetral, pisiform, and trapezium, trapezoid, and capitate and hamate. You will never forget it, right? Once you know the acrostic, you will just remember what comes throughout your entire life. Even if you want to forget, you will not forget it. Here it is easier for you just because that acrostic you're using is very simple, very silly and funny, so that you will never forget it throughout. That's pretty much of all the study techniques. Remember that I have covered only the important study techniques that will actually show you results. There are n number of other study techniques also, but I think that these 10 study techniques are very effective and will definitely help you come out of your exams with flying colors and remember whatever you want lifelong. But remember that if a technique applies to me, it does not mean that it has to apply to you. And if a technique applies to you, it does not mean that it has to hold good on me. So it is always wise for you to choose which is best for you. Just experiment with all these. That's why I have not made separate videos. I have combined everything in one single video so that you will get a platform where you have all the techniques with appropriate information about each, so that you can choose which is better for you and continue to follow it and bring flying colors in your exams. If you have watched this video till now and if you have found the video helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe button, bell icon, and share it with your friends who like content like this. I'll be coming up with more useful videos like this, so stay tuned to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.